So I'm going to tell you, here's the punchline. Screw the rest of the world. So if you look at most of the PhD videos that are out there on YouTube, they are so dark. In fact, I get dark sometimes, and I sort of internalize the negative stuff that happens, right? Like you get all these kind of rejections, you get sometimes you're in just really bad working relationships where people just can't like control their emotions and all of those kind of things, or they can't figure out how to work through difficulties. This is really normal. All of these things are very much normal, and you're like, what the heck is going on here? Why is this happening? And the truth is that all of those bad things are very real. But here's the thing: I want you to practice just detaching and saying, screw it. I mean, really, that's a lot of what you do. None of it makes sense, right? Like most of us give up a tremendous amount of money, to go do something that, I don't know, is it important? Nah. I mean, like, you can sort of convince yourself of the importantness of everything that we actually do. And yeah, maybe it has some impacts and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately, like, screw it. Just do it because you're just kind of you kind of like it, right? Like, that's ultimately at the end of the day that you're thinking about. And it's not like you are doing it in the sense of, that you like it all the time, right? Like, you just need to like it 51% of the time versus 49% of the time where you don't like it. Like, most days I kind of want to quit. I did this little survey on LinkedIn. You can look at it. I think there was 70 responses, and I asked, how often, as PhDs and researchers, how often is it that you actually want to quit or that you want to leave the career? And one of the options was every day and always. And 25% of the people responded. I think it was even higher than that. It was like 27 or 30% of the people responded, yes, every day. And then there was another option that was, many days. And it was like 60% of the people responded. And then there was only, a small fraction that was never. So, what does that say? Right? Like, the whole thing, it makes no sense. It is tough. It's kind of silly, right? Like, ultimately, it is very silly. And I want you to sort of think about that, though. Like, there's a lot of silly, goofy things that people do that make no sense, right? Like climbing a mountain. What the hell, right? Like, why are you climbing a mountain? There's no point to climbing a mountain. Being a police officer or an enforcement officer or in any sort of criminal justice stuff, like, you are doing something that nobody likes that, right? Like, very few people see the glory in any of that stuff if you're actually doing it in the day to day, right? Like, it is tough and it's not appreciative. Nobody likes police officers. But, you do it because just because, like, there's no real answer. So I want you to get used to that fact, right? That a lot of people have all of these sort of negative things that go on, and then it's true, right? Like, that's the thing. The whole thing is true. A lot of negative things will go on, and people are just, it's just nasty when they feel like they're caught in a corner, and like the competitive nature and all of that stuff is true, right? Like, when you get into it, you'll realize, like, shoot, this is more challenging than I thought. And I understand why people get into, backed into a corner and they want to be like angry. But here's the thing, right? The reason why people get like that is they're taking themselves too seriously. You're taking yourself too seriously. All of the rejections that I receive, it's because, and then I feel it, right? I'm like, oh man, like, son of a, and I feel it. I want to be mean at the world, and I'm kind of walking around in the daze and all of that kind of stuff. And what I need to do is just be like, hey, Dave, Like, come on. Don't take yourself so seriously. We are just playing around. Screw it. Like, this, none of this. It's like this whole reciprocity project, right? Like, I'm talking to a cell phone. Um, I've got a platform that works but doesn't work. Like, people join it, but yeah, are they using it to the extent of, yeah, like, oh, like, is this going to become, world famous and all that kind of stuff? And deep down in my head, right? Like there's a 10% chance in my head that I'm like, yeah, like that would be awesome. That'd be cool. But, then I realized deeply inside it's not. And the whole thing is a waste of money. Like everything about it. Now, how do you deal with this, right? Like spending a god awful amount of money on something that is stupid, doing repeated rejection and wasting your time and getting underpaid and the competitive nature, all that kind of stuff. And everybody is like, blah. Um, you know, don't take yourself so seriously. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to, is get up, realize that this is goofy. None of it is rational. None of it is like you're not gonna go and become on the front of Business Week, like all of that kind of nonsense stuff. One person in the entire career is gonna do that. Out of tens of thousands of people doing all of the same stuff, right? I want you to realize like none of it makes sense, and it is all goofy. And there's angry people and all that kind of stuff, but don't take yourself so seriously. Just play around, goof around. The more that you can disassociate and goof around and be like, screw it, like, this is ridiculous. The more that you could do this, and then, if somebody treats you poorly, you're just like, what the hell? Like, that was bizarre. Don't take yourself seriously. Just goof. Just be silly. It's a lot more fun that way. And you know what? Like, life is short anyways. The more that you take yourself so seriously, the more that you're just going to get yourself caught up in a whole bunch of stupidity when people don't treat you nicely, when, things just don't go your way. Like, get out of your slump, get going, and just have some fun.